Leaving all my worries, I prepare for something new. Whatever it was that held me back, I'm sure it wasn't true. Holding on too long on unresolved questions holds you down.
So I have been working at bedside as an RN for about a year now, which means that I'm not a new grad anymore, and that's kind of just crazy to me because that means a year has passed by so fast. And sometimes I still feel like I'm literally 18 years old, basically not an adult or like a real, you know what the heck am I saying? Basically, sometimes I don't feel like I'm competent enough to be a nurse. Although I'm literally on the job, like, yeah. I will say, my experience as a new grad, I started off during the pandemic. So last year of October 2020, when COVID was hitting pretty big. And I work on a telemetry COVID unit. Yeah, so it's been a lot of interesting things. So what I'm trying to say is that I don't know how the I got here.
What could have been a friendly smile has turned into a frown.
I've been a nurse for 4 years.
Like 5 years.
Going on 5 years.
For 7 years.
About 10 years. For 11 years.
For 11 years. I have been a nurse for 15 years.
Well, I originally wanted to be a doctor.
I was a pre-med
Student. I used to work as a physical therapist before.
I was a medical assistant for 5 years before, and then wanted to continue, the nursing path. So I continued going to school, and I took my MCATs, and then I realized I wanted a life, so I chose nursing instead.
I volunteered in the ER. I had a really good experience. Also, I had to take care of my dad when I was younger. He had a stroke.
Well, I always knew that I wanted to help people. So I went for a psychology degree instead to help people that way. After like 5 years of that, I felt like I really wasn't making a difference per se that I wanted to. I went back to school and got my nursing degree so that I could help them like tangibly rather than like figuratively,
But I went the social science route and I was a social worker for kids for about 8 years. But then my dad got really sick, and long story short, after he passed, we were in and out of the hospital so much, and when I was interacting a lot with the nurses, it reinvigorated my interest in the medical field.
It wasn't until my sister who told me to get into nursing. She saw that I love to always take care of people. I volunteered at a hospital and I like the environment, so I think that's why I became a nurse.
I think it stemmed from a personal experience, having to lose my dad in a very young age and wanting to be able to provide education in preventing like certain diseases.
The people there, not just the employees, but the patients would always tell me, you're a good nurse. And I wasn't even a nurse, I was just a therapist, but they would always say I was a good nurse. And I just went from there.
So I discovered my interest in nursing a bit early on. It was about in maybe the end of junior high or the beginning of high school is when I had the idea kind of planted in my brain. I saw this kind of trend where a lot of people that I knew ended up pursuing nursing school after trying to pursue something else, and I kind of thought, why is everyone kind of defaulting to nursing? And so my instinct was to kind of skip the whole detour and just choose this common goal that everyone is pursuing. And so I initially saw nursing a bit objectively. It's very financially stable, you can have a decent work schedule, there's only a medium amount of schooling, and it's very versatile. There's so many things you can do with one degree. And so that's kind of the objective side of why I got into nursing. But in a more personal perspective, I knew that I wanted to be in the healthcare field, so that's the only field that I was kind of looking towards. And then I one day saw this medical missionary documentary with my mom, and that was kind of very touching. So that's kind of a future goal that I have as well. I think what also kickstarted everything was when my mom had a stroke, and that's when I really knew how important it was to be an advocate for others. And so that's kind of what really kickstarted my passion. So how I got through nursing school, well, I was very self-aware that I didn't have the best grades, and so getting to the best nursing school was not a priority for me. My main motive was literally just to be a nurse and make money so I can kind of help my family, and so I just wanted to get into a nursing program as fast as I could without like having the financial burden of having a lot of student loans. And so I was fortunate enough to get into a nursing program into my sophomore year of college. It was a 2-step program, which was 2 years of ASN, and then you take your NCLEX, and then you have the option to take their BSN program, which was 1 year. So that's kind of what I did. As for nursing school, the rumors are true. Nursing school is tough, mainly just because it's the program is all exam based because they're trying to prep you for the NCLEX, and so on top of studying, you have to also go to clinicals and everything and have projects and homework, and it's very compact in the limited amount of years, and so that's kind of the main reason why it's tough. For me, it was tough because I had a lot of test anxiety, and so I even had to get like accommodations and everything for that. But my relationship with nursing school is very toxic. It was like this toxic cycle of not wanting to fail because it would be the end of the world for me. But then I suck at studying, and that was hard, so then that would make me depressed and have anxiety, and then that would also go back to, but then I don't want to fail, and so yeah, you saw that I cried a lot. But what really got me through nursing school, I would say, is my love for clinicals, mainly because it was a lot more hands-on than like taking exams, and so I would say I really thrived in clinicals. My biggest tip is to say yes to everything, even though it's not your patient or you're just helping another nurse out because they need you. Just go for it, and always say yes to opportunities. Look out for opportunities and make connections, because that's literally the biggest thing that you need post nursing school. So yeah, I guess that's how I got through nursing school.
Yes and no.
Absolutely not. I think that's a terrible question. Next question.
Elaborate.
Next question.
I think it's better because we have more autonomy at times, or we learn about, patient care and the healthcare, field. And so I think it is better, but there's definitely a lot of challenges with nursing, especially now with COVID.
I think yes, in a way. Just not expecting that much work and pressure from the work, but yes, I think so.
It is, I guess, what I expected. I went into first orthopedics because, I wanted to help people. So I wanted to send them home and they were going to be happy and everything was good. But like in my first week, we had a patient like throw a PE and then pass away. And then I was like, wow, there isn't really a facet of nursing that you can go into where you're not going to have like bad outcome. Because I was hoping that it would be all butterflies and sunsets. But it was, we sometimes have to deal with tragedies.
I think the relationships that you build with your patients is something that you as a nurse can only experience. You're going to have your good patients and your bad patients. But then those who really are grateful for the care that you provide them just really makes our job fulfilling.
It's a tough one because we've changed so much, or I have changed so much over the past 11 years. When you go from even like something as simple as going from day shift to night shift, or doing relief charge or precepting, or as you gain more experience and you start learning more and kind of passing down that information, it fluctuates, it changes so much. So I think, initially what I did think about nursing has definitely evolved, I say would be the best word, over time. And it kind of surprises you. You never think that you can learn more, but you always do. Take a break.
Please take care of yourself.
Come to work with a positive attitude.
It's okay to think about yourself. It's okay to not always feel like you got to, carry the whole weight on your shoulders.
We can very easily become overwhelmed with our patient care, and we want to care for that person, provide the best patient care we can. And unfortunately, sometimes that's not the case. You shouldn't take it personal. That's something you can't do. Obviously care, but take care of yourself first.
Nursing is always changing constantly. We could be telling the nurses to do one thing one day, and the next thing it's going to be totally different. So just always be positive and open to change, I think.
You could burn out very easily and very quickly.
And always be there for your team.
All the future nurses out there just need to, trust their gut, listen to their instincts, and, persevere, because we need you guys.
What I learned is that it really is true that the little things are what make up for the big picture. There really is no detour to skip in life. There's not always a happy ending, and you will fail and make a lot of mistakes. But what can truly change your perspective is focusing on the little things, from your patient care to laughing with your coworkers and having someone just thank you for your work. It all adds up as to why the job is so fulfilling. And so at the end of the day, your experience is really what you make of it and your perspective towards why you're doing it. So the only reason I've survived is because of the people around me. And so if your environment sucks, I don't know, take the initiative to make the change, because sometimes we're not getting paid enough for this shit.